If anxiety were a person, how would it show up in your life? Hey guys, welcome back to the reflection room. So I recently saw an Instagram reel. I can't even tell you how many times I actually watched this Instagram reel. And I have to admit, I did share it with quite a few colleagues. Yes, mental health counselors share mental health reels and TikTok posts with each other all the time. So it's really funny. And yes, our clients send us links to social media stuff constantly, and I love it. But anyways, this was hilarious. This one was talking about it was a person, a guy who was I guess like anxiety personified essentially. And as someone who has self-disclosed to her clients before, it's not a secret. Anybody who knows me knows that I have suffered from anxiety before, from debilitating anxiety, actually. I've had quite a few since of it. And until this day, I have moments where I have my bouts of anxiety, although it's controlled and I'm functional. I like it's under control, it's under wraps and stuff like that, but I still have it from time to time. I thought it was hilarious and it was on point and it was very relatable. I thought it was really funny. So it got me thinking, I thought like what you guys would, it got me thinking about like what you guys would think about this. But yeah, like if anxiety were a person, how do you think it would show up in your life? And I asked myself that same question. And honestly, I thought about like, it made me think about like the most annoying people. Like who are those annoying, like what are the most annoying things that people can do, at least in my life. So hopefully people that are watching this that do this, please don't take any offense. But I started thinking about those things, the behaviors that people can do. One of those things is like showing up uninvited. So and I feel like anxiety's like that, like it'll just pop up out of the blue where you're just like, okay, where the heck did that come from? Like I was not planning for that to happen today. It's definitely not on my to-do list. So that I would say is people that show up uninvited, where it's like, it's definitely interrupting my flow. It was not at all scheduled in my calendar. And it is, yeah, it's throwing a wrench in my plans. So I would say anybody who shows up uninvited is is definitely someone who is how anxiety would be personified in my life. I would say anyone who like interrupts my moments of calm. So if I am having a very like zen day, very calm or a calm mornings, if anybody knows me personally knows, like usually I like to start off my morning very like slow. I don't care what time I have to wake up, like in the morning, So, like, if I'm getting my work day started at 8, then I'll wake up at like 6, like 2.5 hours beforehand. Or if I'm getting my day started at 7, I'll wake up at like 5. Like, I have to have a slow transition to my morning. So, anything that interrupts my moments of calmness, anybody that does that, whether it's through a text message or a phone call or a knock on the door or whatever. So I would say like that. So anxiety, that would be anxiety in person in my life for sure. Or those people that have a need to control when you're around them, and then anybody who knows me personally might actually say that I'm like that person for them in their life, but that's besides the point. But yes, have you been around people like that? They just have like a need to like control everything. And you're just like, okay, like you're making me feel like on edge right now. And I just feel like I can't do anything right. I don't even know, like, what are you expecting? What are you wanting? Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of tiptoeing around you. Like, I don't even know if I'm like, am I doing this right? Am I not? Like, that kind of thing. Like, okay, just do it. Do whatever you want. Like, have your way, that kind of thing. And you just kind of surrender, right? You're just like, okay, just do it. Yeah. So I would say that is anxiety for me. Is anybody that just has a need to control and have things their way? I would say that is anxiety in person form in my life. People that stay too long. So as an introvert, I don't understand extroverts in many ways. And that is one way. I have like a start and an end time when it comes to anything social. And I can only have like one social thing. I was going to say a day, but honestly, if it was like one social thing a week, I would be okay with that too. And it's like, I can only take it in like a few hours, like block a time. So, like when people come over, let's say, and then they're over for a long period of time, like when I'm over there at their place, like I can do my whole start and stop thing, but then when people are over, there's no such thing as like a start and stop for me. I guess I could somehow figure that out, but I don't know, that would be kind of rude. But yeah, so anybody that like stays way too long, that for me would be an example of a person who represents anxiety for me. I would say people that are irrational. Yes, irrational. I don't know if you've ever spoken to anyone and they're just talking and they're going on and you're just like, that makes that I don't know. It's not computing. That makes no sense to me. But they're just confidently like it's making sense to them in their brains. It's connecting. But for you feel like you're missing some links there and it's just not computing. And so it's just causing some frustration and you're just lost. There's things being lost in translation. And so anybody who just talks, it's just they're being irrational and you're trying to have a conversation with them or you're trying to like be rational with them in conversation and whatever feelings are generated there, especially if they're coming to you for advice or coming to you for feedback or for guidance and you're trying really hard, but it's just not entering. I would say that person represents anxiety for me for sure. And then I would say anybody, this is the last one. I would say anybody who exaggerates any like everyday things for me. I don't know if you guys have any friends like that or anybody in your life where you just know that they're just exaggerators. Yeah, and so you're just like anything that comes out of their mouth, you're like, the truth is probably like 5 to 7 times less than that, like what they just said. I would say that. So I would say those people like that represent anxiety for me if they were to personify anxiety for me and in my life. So I don't know. I just thought that was really funny, but got me thinking. So if they were to represent anxiety for me, it got me thinking about like how I interact with people like that. And just naturally with my personality and my temperament and stuff, I tend to be more, and I'll come back to this. There's a reason why I'm saying this, but I tend to be more of an observer with that kind of stuff, and I think that suits me well. And like I said, I'll come back to that. But, anytime that you're really engaging with people like that or matching their energy or putting in any kind of effort or anything like that, I think it could be a little bit too exhausting sometimes. So I would say I tend to be more of an observer and just kind of watching them do what they do. That kind of tends to suit me well. And yeah, so I think observing people like that in their natural environments, I don't know, it tends to be pretty entertaining for me. So like I said, I'll come back to that yeah, that word observer or observing. But this idea of anxiety, honestly, it is rooted in a protective instinct. And essentially it just has kind of gone overboard is the way that I typically explain it when I'm working with clients who share that they are really struggling with this feeling of anxiety. And oftentimes what has happened, and this is the way we kind of explain it to clients in the most kind of simplified way, is that, and oftentimes when people have gone through past experiences, our minds, our bodies had to respond oftentimes in a certain way. And in order to kind of survive, let's say, home environment or a threatening situation, a traumatic event of some sort. And we kind of we store that experience or we store those factors in our brains. And then as we're moving through life, and I know I'm simplifying it down in a very like kind of concrete way, but as we're kind of moving through life, we kind of pull from our past experiences in order to like quickly respond to like stimuli as it's kind of coming at us. Because if you think about it, we're always being bombarded with things on a constant basis, and so we're always really kind of pulling from our past experiences in order to see like have we encountered something very similar to this in the past. And so that's essentially what's happening is like, you know, it's something that was previously used as a protective factor is now being used as a protective instinct in our present situation. So and so sometimes things are being interpreted as a threatening environment or a threatening situation, or uh, some kind of threat, when in reality it really isn't necessarily threat. But then our physiological response is rising, or we have some kind of like cognitive responses that are kind of beginning to brew. And so we begin to feel anxiety in the moment as if we're needing to protect ourselves from something in the present time, as if we're experiencing something currently that is kind of matching something that we experienced before. So sometimes humor really can, very similar to the Instagram reel that we, watch, sometimes using humor to personify anxiety really can work. It can kind of reduce shame for us and create this distance between anxiety that we're experiencing and in ourselves. So I invite you to try kind of your own interview or kind of dialogue with anxiety, asking what it's trying to kind of protect you from, and sometimes naming or describing it, kind of externalizing and shifting from being controlled by it to actually observing it can be really helpful. Hence the observer word that I was using earlier. Remember that anxiety isn't necessarily your enemy. It's really just a messenger that sometimes gets a little bit too loud in our ear. So I will end this video like I always end all of our episodes. I hope you really, really enjoyed this little episode. I thought it was really funny and it was worth sharing. So as always, keep reflecting and remember the goal isn't to silence anxiety, but to understand what it's been trying to tell you all along.